Hey there, I hope you're doing well. My name is Adam and today we're going to look at some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy Reddit stories, consider liking, subscribing, and maybe hitting that notification bell too. Let's get started with today's first story. Much love, everyone. Today's first story comes from my family chose my cheating sibling over me, so I ran away. I hated her for a while, but now I just don't care. We were raised in the same house by the same parents, but treated completely differently. Christy went to private school, was chauffeured around by our stay-at-home mother, and was given a hefty allowance. I went to public school, rode the public bus, walked everywhere, and never had an allowance. No extended family would say anything beyond claiming my parents and sister loved me, but I have to understand that it wasn't their place and that maybe things would be better if I tried harder. I hated them just as much as I hated my parents. Christy mocked me relentlessly growing up. She was the pretty one and the smart one. If I got upset by her mocking, I was told I was being sensitive and that it was sibling love. If I said hurtful things right back, I was grounded because I took it too far. I wasn't allowed to outshine her and I wasn't allowed to have friends. My clothing was policed by her, and the few nice clothes aunts and uncles would get me would be replaced with frumpy and unattractive clothing. It would end up in her wardrobe. My parents would back up Christy, saying I couldn't pull it off and that it looked inappropriate when I wore it. The rest of the family, the people who gave me the clothes included, would compliment how good she looked and pretty much validate Christy. I know for a fact that I am and have always been attractive. Even in those ugly outfits, I managed to get asked out on multiple dates and got a boyfriend. My sophomore year said boyfriend knocked up Christy our senior year after cheating on me with her. Since I got my early admission letter and was neglecting him and the family, she told me the day before my graduation claiming he was going to marry her and they were in love and it grew from me abandoning them both blah blah. Our mother was there and because I didn't really react, she thought I was being a good sister and said she was so proud of me. I didn't cry about it. I just packed up my car when everyone was asleep, skipped my graduation and the supposed party that was planned and I left. My only stop was the police station where I gave them my information, told them that if I'm reported missing, I'm not and bluntly said I'm running from an abusive family, was going away to college, and never came back. I got rid of my phone and everything. I went to school, got a good internship turned job, bought the condo I was renting, and had my dream wedding. Christy got in contact with me via Facebook, her DMs 2 days worth because I don't really use my Facebook, are consistent with her saying I abandoned her when she needed me most, that she's practically a single mom, that her husband, my ex, hates her and got with a woman that looks like me, that our parents blame her for my leaving and won't help her, and that the entire family treats her kid like crap for being the product of an affair. She didn't get into any of the colleges she applied to. She couldn't go to college as a full-time mother. She switched between blaming me for her misfortune and throwing a pity party. While reading, I didn't feel much of anything. Reading how awful her life turned out, I think I truly just stopped caring and so even karma beating her down didn't give me any joy. Then she both DM'd and tagged me in a post that read, "I feel like I'm drowning and I just need my sister, why won't you respond? Why did you leave me when I needed you the most? Please, I'm in such a bad place. If you don't help, I'll just end it all." I replied via comment and DM, "Go ahead and take yourself off, I'm not helping you and frankly, I don't care. You stopped being my sister the day you gave me bleach as a gift," and blocked her shortly after. The logical part of me is telling me that was wrong, but I just can't bring myself to care enough to feel guilty. If something happens to her, I still don't think I'll care. This is contrary to what her family and friends think, all people I've blocked, without bothering to read their messages. Responses from OP in the comments. Commenter, given how close you were in age, is it possible that one of you is adopted or is the product of an affair? I don't understand how your parents could be so openly cruel and no one stood up for you. You didn't deserve any of that and I'm glad you were able to thrive without it. I hope you live a good life far, far away from all those people. You don't owe your sister anything. OP, no adoptions, no affairs, just colorism and me being unplanned, so essentially unwanted. Commenter, to be honest, it was one of my thoughts, but OP says they are African Americans and her sister has light skin compared to her. So she is darker than everyone else in the family. I think it might be something related to the color of her skin, as I have read that light-skinned African Americans or just black people in general consider them more exceptional, and that is related to the passing test they went through. OP, you worded it well and you were accurate on part of my mistreatment. Colorism is a major issue in many black communities, and what your friend told you isn't wrong either, and I wasn't even the darkest in my family. Just of my immediate family. Commenter, I'm sorry, did you say she gave you bleach as a gift? What is the context there? Telling her to go ahead and kill herself is messed up. I don't judge you for feeling that way, though, but it might have been better to say something like, I'm not there for you because when I was you treated me like a punching bag and got knocked up by my boyfriend. Maybe try getting some sympathy from someone. You haven't mistreated their entire life. You reap what you sow. I find the direct and ugly truth works better with these things, and since you are only saying the truth and not being actively cruel, other people can't really blame you or call you mean, but man, your sister is effing delusional and turning to you. After all that awfulness she put you through, now she's suffering because she's getting just a taste of what it's like to not be the golden child that receives nothing but praise. Your parents really did a number on you both, and they should be blamed more than your sister, but considering she hasn't seemed to learn a damn thing and isn't taking any accountability for anything, she can go pound sand too. OP. The context for the bleach: my family is Black American and, while Christy was always light-skinned, I was much darker than her and both my parents for my 14th birthday. Her gift to me was a spa kit that consisted of skin lightening products, exfoliating products, and a bottle of bleach. She told me that I needed to lighten up, and that was the best gift anyone could give me. She wasn't grounded, but I was when I threw her gift out and didn't apologize when she started crying. Update. M got arrested, not a good thing, but I'm happy regardless. This happened 2 days ago. She said worth it once my husband Derek and I bailed her out. No charges are being pressed against her, something I'm extremely happy about. This is somewhat of an update to my previous post about my sister Christy and my response to her living threat. It wasn't nice and I still don't feel guilty. My mother, who'll be called Emma, was able to get in contact with my brother Cam, not long after Christy's post was deleted. He didn't tell me at the time, but he thought it was our maternal grandparents calling. It wasn't. He did talk to her and shared that I was married, had a good job and so on. He was essentially rubbing it in her face that I was living an amazing life and didn't need them. He admits that he saw red when she didn't believe this because I never posted about any of that stuff on Facebook. Again, I don't really use it. If I want you to know something, I'll call or text. He sent her pictures of my wedding, specifically pictures that showed how extravagant and intimate it had been. We only had 32 guests, and because of Emil's and Fael's contributions, we were able to have our dream wedding at a beautiful venue. Cam also listed all of my other achievements and talked about how I finally had parents who loved me and treated me properly. I can't even be mad at him, even though he thinks I should be, because Emma figured out where I was based on his bragging about having mended his relationship with me and me staying with him based on that. He thinks that's how she figured out where to start looking. Plus our shared and individual friends and my in-laws are far more active online than I am, and not all of them have their accounts private. Cam follows them and they follow him. So he feels like he's to blame. She doesn't know where I live, hopefully, but she was at a cafe I normally go to with my MIL. She and FIL are adamant about group and solo bonding with their children, and I'm always included in this tradition. I was with my MIL, and well, Cam wasn't exaggerating about me having parents that now love me. When I first met Derek, I had a hard time opening up to him, and we both agreed to start as friends and see where things went. When I was comfortable with the idea of any kind of intimate relationship, his parents were so kind to me, and when we started dating, I had difficulty with them. It was my FIL who sat me down one night after dinner and told me that their son loves me and they can see why. So I should love myself and allow myself to be loved too. By that point I had spent 3 months observing how they treated Derek and his older brothers, how close Derek was to his parents and brothers and how healthy their relationships were. I blubbered and can admit I fixated on him ruining my makeup. It was my obsessing with my appearance. Instead of dealing with internal crap, Faze and Fael just hugged me and said I was adorable, but shouldn't ignore my feelings like that, because it would just fester. He's amazing and I love him so much. Random tangent. But that memory came to mind anyways. Mil and I came to the cafe together and, to be honest, I didn't really recognize my mother until I heard her speak. Her voice is the same voice that used to insult me and yell at me. Nothing different after so many years. She'd gained weight and was still as attractive as ever, but I don't know, I didn't immediately realize it was her. I realized who she was when she called my name and I just turned around and left. I didn't realize my Mil wasn't following me until I was back in my car and about to start it. I got back out and went to go get her. I felt horrible for just leaving her behind like that. Mael seemed calm when I got back, but Emma was not. She was mid-sentence and what I heard was, "Your daughter, who do you think you are?" She shoved my Mil and Mil said, "The one that loves her the way a mom should. Who do you think you are?" And then Mael wasn't so calm, because Emma said that lying dubs, real mother, that was all it took for her to jump on Emma. She got multiple punches before I got her off and the cops showed up not long after. I guess the cafe workers or customers called before things escalated. Either way, she was arrested and Mill was bailed out ASAP. She told me it was worth it. The moment we were in the car and I just started laughing and crying when she ranted about how angry Emma made her, thinking she could call my daughter anything degraded and get away with it. She said she was so happy. I ran away and found them because she couldn't believe anyone could insult me like that when she knows what type of person I am and probably have always been. You just weren't allowed to be that person. I should have hit her harder. Is it awful that I feel so good about this? It's like my child self is getting her wishes, however delayed the granting is, and I'm just so happy. Someone loves me enough to be angry for me. Growing up, my parents never defended me from anyone. Most of the time, they'd openly agree with any insult directed at me, even when I was right there. As a footnote, I noticed some comments asking for an update on Christy. In a comment, I said she deleted her post. Not long after, I deleted my comment. The few people whose messages I actually read claimed they were going to have a wellness check done and told me if something happened, it would be my fault. At the time, I didn't know Cam and Derek were both getting messages too. Derek's response was to send everyone a comprehensive list of everything I had ever vented to him about. It included some of what I vented about in my first post, but also some other things that I'd told him about. He ended each list with a question. Why should my wife feel any shame for responding that way to one of her abusers? No one responded to him and, unlike me, he never blocked anyone. Cam's response was to shame them and reveal that Christy has always implied Una living herself to get her way. Just like her mother, he shared old texts between him and our parents and some between him and Christy as proof. Yes, she has always done that, and so has our mother, but I didn't know they did that to him too. No one responded to him either. I don't know if there was an actual wellness check. Cam has blocked everyone, including both sets of grandparents. So I guess I have another partner in my NC boat. Cam has apologized and offered to cover Mill's bail. Derek told him no, but that he could host a small gathering celebrating Mill's accomplishment. Instead, I love this man. I assured Cam that I didn't blame him at all. Mill getting arrested made me feel awful, and I blamed myself for leaving her alone with Emma initially, but I don't blame Cam. The fact that he cared so much to be offended on my behalf and brag about me made me feel good too. Him, Derek, and Mill defending me just makes me feel pure joy. It's not a happy situation, but I'm just so happy regardless. Second story, OP's pregnant wife has died and OP thinks it's the best Christmas gift ever. At the beginning of 2022, I caught my wife having an affair with one of her exes. Our marriage wasn't perfect. I was not the perfect husband, I will admit, but I did my best. I put effort into the entire 5 years we were together. I put my all into the relationship. I could not say the same. I was forced to confront the reality of who she truly was shortly after I caught her. She illegally evicted me from our shared home, lied to the police to try and get me arrested, tried to get me fired from my job, and tried to turn all of my friends against me. Some of these succeeded, while others did not. She has made my life a living hell since the day I asked her for the divorce, and she has planted her heels into the ground over our separation to try and drain all my finances and emotional strength from me. The only upside is that we had no kids for her to use as weapons, but I soon found out that her policy of strict birth control with me did not extend to her suitor as he got her pregnant 5 months ago. I thought maybe this would help speed along the divorce, but it only rallied her in her efforts to destroy me. On Christmas Eve, my wife and her suitor went to a party where both of them got drunk. I find this fact terrible as all her friends knew. She was pregnant as well. Her suitor drove them home, a mistake that would cost them both their lives. In the state I live in, our divorce is now considered to have never even started. I will be able to claim her life insurance policy for myself and move back into my home. Her parents called me up, distraught yesterday, acting as if the last year had never happened and offering their full support for my funeral preparations for her. My confusion here was beyond belief, but the apple does not fall far from the tree. When it comes to my wife, I told them. If they wanted a funeral, it was coming out of their pockets. I will pay for her to be cremated and deliver her ashes to them in the cheapest urn offered if they desire. They called me horrible and tried to guilt me about her life insurance, but after only 4 minutes on the phone with them, I hung up and blocked every one of her family's numbers. I'm going to be taking a few extra days off work to move back into my house over the next week. I've already made arrangements to have her stuff hauled off, so my home will be an empty canvas to start my life anew. I don't know if there is a God or if this was just karma, but I truly believe now that I have come out on the other side of the storm. Ops comments, judge me how you will. I will not argue with how my actions influence others' opinions about me. I just know that if the situation were reversed, my wife would be shopping around for a sports car with the life insurance money she collected on me. You're right. I don't like them, but they do deserve her things if they want them. I'll unblock her mom and offer to make arrangements to deliver her stuff wherever she wants. If she wants it all, or only certain things, I'll cover the cost and deliver them to her. I'm already paying to have it hauled and trashed, so there's no point in caring where it goes.
I cut those people out of my life when they turned on me due to false accusations that I had video evidence to prove wrong. If her lies being exposed in 4K are not enough to convince them, they are nothing more than anchors to be released into the sea. I will be installing cameras at the house tomorrow. The locks have already been repinned. My divorce lawyer has already given me recommendations, and I am meeting with an attorney on Wednesday. Update: I have decided to elaborate on a few common threads I see in this post here, as responding to all the comments would be too much. Firstly, some are judging me for the way I am reacting to the deaths of 3 people. You're right. It is not normal, nor is it healthy. I feel no emotions toward my ex at this moment. All my hatred, resentment, and regret evaporated. When I learned of her death, I felt nothing but relief right now. This void has slowly consumed me over the past few days. I feel numb, like I'm dreaming, like what happened is not real. This woman made my life a living hell for over a year. She set out to destroy me and would not stop until she did. I do not like the fact that I feel this way over the deaths of 3 people, but that is not a box I feel ready to unpack at this moment. Secondly, I reached out to my ex's mom today, and things are much more civil as of now. I'll pay the hauling company to move her stuff into one of their storage units, and they can figure out the rest. Her mother revealed to me that they cannot afford to host a funeral for my ex. I am 100% the legal beneficiary of her life insurance. Despite my past hatred for her family, I told her mother I would give them a small amount from her life insurance. so they could have a service and arrange burial logistics for her. This is contingent on us cutting ties after, and I will not be involved any further in her funeral. I will still be talking to a lawyer. Lastly, I am not going to elaborate any further, except that the only lives lost were hers, her suitor, and their unborn child. Some are saying I should sell the house right now. I only want to return to my home. The details of where I end up, either there or somewhere over the rainbow, are yet to be determined. I do not know what life holds for me or any of us. This event happened maybe for a reason, or maybe the universe has no logic at all. This gift put an end to a period of my life that sent me to the brink of destruction. It's morbid to think that the deaths of 3 people were what pulled me to the other side alive. It's interesting how quickly it can all change or end. Third story. Op's jealous stepsister claims to be pregnant with Op's boyfriend's child. Sorry, weird title, so I met my 25F boyfriend Tim 26M, 3.5 years ago. We hit it off, he was great and sweet, and we got along perfectly until I introduced him to my family. My mother had gotten remarried a few months earlier.
I like my stepdad, and we get along fine with my stepsister, Sarah, who is 26 years old. We are friendly, but not besties. By any means, she is kind of an intense party girl, and being in our 20s, we only saw each other at family events. So I introduced Tim to my family, at which point we learned that Sarah used to date Tim when they were 20. It was only a few months, and Tim said they broke up because she made out with another guy at a nightclub while drunk. Sarah got upset and started saying I had to break up with him because it was weird. She called Tim her sloppy seconds and tried to get our parents to force us to break up. I said no, it had been years since they'd been together and I didn't even know Sarah. When she was dating Tim, I got pretty upset because my family jumped on the bandwagon of saying we should break up. For the past few years, at any family gathering, Sarah would mention how they used to date and act like I stole her boyfriend, and she has been selling that narrative to my family and friends. It became obvious that she was jealous, but I liked Tim, so we just ignored it and kept dating. So now, a few years later, Tim and I live together, and we've been talking about marriage and stuff. I recently had a conversation with my mom about how I thought Tim was going to propose because he's not exactly subtle, and we've talked about this for a while, at which point Sarah, who had just moved back in with her parents, walked in. She started asking a bunch of invasive questions about our relationship and being weird. Sarah is 4 months pregnant. The father, she said, was some deadbeat guy she'd hooked up with who wants nothing to do with her, but she wants to keep the baby. I'd been making an effort to take her to appointments, offered to help babysit, and tried to be excited for her until a week ago, when my stepdad sent me a long text saying I couldn't marry Tim because he was the real father of Sarah's baby. I was immediately very upset and confronted Tim, who was completely shocked and said Sarah was lying. He said there's no way and he didn't cheat on me and he would gladly have a paternity test to prove that. Unsure, I asked Sarah for more details about when they slept together, which she says happened a few times. She was shaky and went back and forth on details. The dates and times don't match up with what I can remember of what Tim and I have been doing. She also said she came to our house to see him, but since COVID, I've been working from home, so I can't imagine that they managed that. I'm pretty sure now that she's lying to get us to break up because she's still jealous. But now my family is involved and has been sending me hateful messages saying I need to break up with Tim and let him be with Sarah. She's telling everyone he's in love with her and I'm keeping him from her. She has no proof and he strictly denied everything. I texted her asking for proof of any of this happening, and she sent me some fake photoshopped screenshots that I can tell are fake. She's put Tim's name over a friend's number and pretended he was messaging her. I checked in the friend all but admitted it to me and tried to laugh it off. She badly photoshopped the timestamps. I actually don't know what to do now. I believe Tim and I are still together, but this has kind of thrown a wedge in everything. Sarah has poisoned my relationship with our parents and my family. I feel sick to my stomach and Sarah is now saying she won't give me a paternity test for now. I've cut everyone off except Tim, but I don't know what to do now. Update: I had kind of forgotten about this post because life has been so hectic, but the baby was born yesterday and reminded me of this. A few people have been asking for updates, so I spoke to my parents and Tim offered to do a paternity test. We gave them an ultimatum to believe me or have me out of their lives. Initially, my parents backed Sarah, mostly because she was pregnant and had nobody else. The deadbeat who knocked Sarah up reached out to me privately because he had been sure that he fathered Sarah's baby as they'd been hooking up at the time, and he wasn't sure what was going on. Sarah told him she was having the pregnancy terminated. Apparently, deadbeat reached out to my parents and said he wanted to fully support the child and Sarah. It turns out he's a plumber with a very good income and wants to be a dad to his kid, but he doesn't want to be with Sarah at all. Sarah still won't admit to lying about the affair, but after realizing people weren't falling for it, she switched to faking a mental illness to cover for her deception. I do believe she is mentally unwell, just not in the way she says. I have also figured out what a master manipulator she is. She fed my parents tidbits and small lies to make her giant lie seem more credible. She tried to slowly turn them against me, so they more easily believed Tim was in love with Sarah. Things are still strained with my family, but I feel I'm making progress and Sarah has moved on to getting attention for being pregnant or sick, so she's not obsessing over Tim anymore, though I refuse to be around her. A baby was born today. I pray for that little guy. It's going to be a long and difficult life with that mother. My cousin went to visit and sent me a photo of the birth certificate. Father is listed as a deadbeat guy. And finally, Tim did propose, but we're planning a long engagement. Sarah is not invited to the wedding. I'm going to turn this one over to you. What do you make of this situation? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, support, and time mean the world to me. So, thank you so much for being part of this. I really appreciate your time. I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.